What's up, guys? Welcome to Whiskey. My name's Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. That sounds interesting. Hit subscribe down below. With that out of the way, let's jump into our review. Today we're looking at the Aultmore 18-year-old. Stick around. Okay, so I had initially planned for this review to kick off a series of reviews on 18-year-old whiskeys, but I don't know how well that's going to turn out. I'm not Jim over at the Whiskey Novice. Great channel, by the way. Go check him out, where he organizes his reviews as part of a themed series. My channel is much more haphazardly thrown together, but I do have a bunch of 18-year-olds that I want to touch on. There's got to be a better way to say that. Point is, I've got a bunch of 18-year-old whiskeys here. They're all open. They're waiting to be reviewed, so I will try and crank out a review of an 18-year-old from time to time, but there's so many whiskeys that I have to get to. First world problems. But yeah, you can expect that down the line. We're going to kick things off with a review of our Aultmore 18 here. Now, Aultmore is owned by Bacardi, and Bacardi whiskeys in general these days are gaining a lot of traction. They're becoming cool. Now, to be fair, I don't think it's a meteoric rise, and I think most Bacardi single malts are still not household names, but they are picking up a lot of steam. For example, we have stuff like the Royal Bracla whiskeys, which have recently been revamped. They're now craft presented. The 12-year-old in particular is delicious stuff if you like your sherry bombs. Cowabunga 13 is huge these days. It's very fashionable. I don't know if I had anything to do with that, but let's pretend I did. And then, of course, we've got our Aultmore here. Aultmore, the 12-year-old, is one I looked at a while back. I did enjoy it. That one's a bit of a sleeper hit, but like the sleepiest of sleeper hits. It's a very low-key, very subtle whiskey, but it is delicious. We've got, of course, our 18-year-old here. This one did very well in a recent Ralphie review. Bacardi also owns Aberfeldy. They also own Glendeverin, and those are also whiskeys. So while it is a mixed bag, a few of these Bacardi brands are getting the tender love and care that they deserve. Aultmore is among them. As I said, it seems to be on the up and up these days, so it's a good time to look at this one. This one has been matured in both bourbon and refill sherry casks. It came out in 2015. It's part of the regular range, which of course includes the 12 and the 18. There's also a 21, and I think there's a 25 in there too. And of course, you're going to have a few like special releases out there. But this is not a brand that I've explored very much of. I've only tried the 12 and the 18-year-olds, but I've had 2 bottles of each, so that should tell you something. So yeah, generally speaking, I do enjoy their whiskeys. I think they're really solid, really well made, maybe not epic, but you do know their craft when you drink them, and they are delicious. So our 18-year-old here has a pretty good shot at getting a decent score. Let's find out. Let's jump into our review, see what the whiskey's all about, and in the meantime, if you could kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. Great specs here, which is something we get across the board from Aultmore. So this one's 46%, it's non-chill filtered, and our color is natural. So we have our beautiful natural color there. As for the bottle, I don't mind the bottle. Both Craigellachie and Aultmore have these very sort of old school looking labels. They're almost kind of Victorian. I didn't much care for them at first, but I am kind of warming up to them. The bottle of the 12, which is very similar to this, I gave 2.5, I think last year. I'm going to bump that up to 3.5 for this one, because why not? We've got natural color and non-chill filtered on the back. There's a bunch of markety stuff here, but nothing too obnoxious. It says there's no hint of peat in the whiskey. It does not mention the casks, but tell you what, overall, our information here is good, and the bottle's not bad. I did not add water. Let's try our nose. So very rounded. It's soft even. There's no bells and whistles here. This is just mature, sherried Speyside whiskey. And it's not even like big sherry. It's not a sherry bomb by any means. We have these soft, gentle honeys, these soft florals. There's also Biscoff cookies. There's ginger. There's oak. And here's a fun one. I get Twix bars. So like milk chocolate and cookies and caramel. It's a really nice nose, actually. Let's try the palate. Okay, very nice. So honey and caramel, a little bit of pepper up front, white pepper. Very nice texture here. It's even a little bit waxy for you Kleinlich fans out there. There's also toffee, there's heather, there's barley, we have some oak spice, some faint lemon, some faint cardamom in here, and some milk chocolate. And now our finish. Very nice. A little bit effervescent. Twix bar again. So that cookie, caramel, chocolate combo. Love that. There's fresh herbs in here, like walking past an herb garden. There's more heather. There's more of these gentle florals. It's a short to medium finish, lingering on some vanilla and some champagne notes. All right, so this is pretty good stuff. It's interesting. This is a whiskey that I would describe as technically perfect. And the funny thing about that is that that is not a term that I ever use in a positive way. It's almost always negative, and I don't mean it that way here. I actually really do like this stuff, but it does taste technically perfect without feeling too modern or superficial or engineered. So then, of course, our question becomes, Jeff, what the hell do you mean by technically perfect? And that's actually a little bit tough to put into words, but I'll try my best. What I mean by that is that this is a wonderfully balanced whiskey. It's beautifully balanced, and it's also extremely approachable. There is nothing harsh in here. There's nothing off-putting. There's nothing difficult. No real quirks, no rough edges, no surprises really. But it's just nice. And like, legitimately nice. This is something that a beginner or a seasoned connoisseur could bond over. It is not a fireworks whiskey, so if you're looking for something like a Springbank or an Edward Dower or a peaty Isla Blast, some kind of whiskey that challenges conventions, this ain't it. What this is it's a pleasant Speyside sipper. It's an easy sipper. It's done in such a way that feels honest, it feels craft, it doesn't feel rushed, and like I said, it's not too modern, it's not too engineered. Basically, this is what a technically perfect whiskey should be. And again, I don't think I've ever used that term in a positive light until now. Anyway, so like the 12-year-old, we've got some herbal notes in here, but like the 12, it's nothing too like bitter or heavy, nothing too vegetal. It's more just like you're walking past an herb garden in spring. It's very like bright and fresh and very pleasant. And of course, we've got our Twix notes in there, so some cool flavors. And there's even a little bit of smoke in here, and that's kind of funny because on the bottle it literally tells you there is zero smoke in here, there's zero peat. So what we're getting is an amalgamation of some of the more earthier flavors in the whiskey, and those are interacting with the casks in such a way that we just have the impression that there's a little bit of smoke in there. It's faint, it's subtle, but it's nice. And the last thing I want to talk about here is that effervescence. This whiskey's a little bit bubbly. It's like 50% champagne, 50% ginger ale, 100% classy. One thing to remember here, though, is that this is not a showstopper whiskey. As I said, it's not a fireworks whiskey. It's not going to blow your mind. You're not going to be wowed. This one's more about the subtleties, about the nuance, and I love that. So my score for this one is going to be 88. It's a great score for a great whiskey. Check this one out, guys. As far as I'm concerned, this one is delicious. It's traditional, it's craft, it tastes like these traditional classic Speyside flavors. We have the age, we have the balance, we have the complexity here. And yeah, it could have a little bit more pop, but it's undeniably delicious, just in a more quiet way. So it's getting a little bit tough to talk about value these days, especially as it applies to stuff that's 18 years old or older. The prices these days have gone up so dramatically, especially for the last few months, the last year or so. It's ridiculous, and it sucks. As far as this bottle goes, I managed to pick it up last year in Taiwan. I got it for a very fair price. It's still selling for a fair price here. I don't know what it goes for in your market, but I would say that if you can still find it for something that you deem reasonable, for a price you deem reasonable, yeah, it's worth picking up, especially if you're a sucker for those subtle, classic, like traditional Speyside profiles. It's a good one. All right, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to help support the channel, please consider becoming a patron. Otherwise, you can like, comment, and subscribe. You know that is always appreciated. And of course, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried our Aultmore 18? What were your thoughts? How much did you pay for it? Finally, down below in the comments, let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.